Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to England once again, and we're going to kick off with a little mini series of English beers that I'm going to review for you over the next couple of weeks and probably into February as well, because I very much doubt that I'm going to get all 18 of these beers reviewed for you over the next little while. But this is going to kick off me reviewing my beers that I bought from the House of Trembling Madness down in York. An awesome beer shop if you can get there in person, but they've also got a great web shop there, which the English beer tubers tell me is one of the best value ones that you're going to find down there. So I highly recommend that you check them out. I've got a great selection of stuff there, and as I've told you in previous reviews, the English beer scene is very much thriving at the moment. There's great breweries down there, and you will see some of them featured here on the channel over the next little while. So do stay tuned for that. But a big shout out to my friends down in the English beer tubing scene. There's some great reviewers down there, and if you are particularly interested in English beer, they are doing them a lot more regularly than I am, of course. But yeah, for this review, there was a beer that really stuck out to me as the one that I wanted to kick off this mini-series with. And this is a brewery that is featured on the channel twice before. Once as part of a collaboration beer, and the second time as my first dedicated review that I did to the brewery. That was back in December of 2017 apparently, so these guys haven't been on the channel in about 3 years, but the English guys tell me this brewery is very, very solid. They kind of focus on session ales these days apparently, but they are almost a little bit underrated from what I've heard. But for this one we are going to head down to Bristol in the southwest of England, a very, very good beer city these days, and we're having a look at another beer from Arbor Ales. So this one is called the My Little Sabrony. It comes in at 5% ABV, and they're describing this one as a single hop American pale ale. So yeah, very, very curious to see how this one turns out. This is a beer that I know my friend Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews has reviewed. I watched his review a good few months back, and I know that he said this was a very nice beer, but it has been long enough that his review isn't going to taint my one, because I honestly can't remember what he said about this beer other than that it was very, very good actually. So that was the main reason that I bought this one as my first as my first review from Arbor in quite some time. But yeah, very much looking forward to this beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on it. The main reason that this struck me as the one that I wanted to kick off the English mini-series was the fact that it has the Pride colours on it. So on a serious note, I think that, you know, gay rights is a very, very important issue. And it's something that I think all sensible people support, is, you know, gay marriage and all of this kind of thing. But yeah, there was a kind of quite funny incident in the whole beer tube community where I think it was Harry from Blue Nose Beer Reviews, Peter at the Clueless Drinker, myself, and then my good friend Thomas Hoendam at Thomas Open over in the Netherlands. We were accused of being in a sort of love square, if you like, and being homosexual, which apparently this person thinks is still insulting in the 21st century, which is, it's just juvenile, and it's just funny that this person thinks it's insulting, if you like. But basically, I want to dedicate this this review to my fellow bike seat sniffers, cucumber lovers, and headphone wearing companions in the English and Dutch beer tubing scenes. That's what we'll dedicate this one to, just because it's funny, and I think yeah, it just cracks me up to think about it. But yeah, as I say, gay pride in all seriousness is something that we should support, but yeah, that whole stuff was just hilariously juvenile, to be honest with you. But there we go. But yeah, definitely nice to return to Arbor Ales after quite some time, and I'm really, really looking forward to returning to these guys again in the fairly near future. They've got some really nice beers down there by the looks of it. So when I go and visit Harry, he lives very close to Bristol, so we will see about maybe visiting their bar and things like that, actually, one of their bars down there. So yeah, you can look forward to an out and about video with myself and Harry down there. But yeah, 5% American Pale Ale, this one with Sabro hops, really lovely hop that's got a good orangey character to it and some coconut. I think this beer will be pretty damn good, and if Harry says it's good, he is pretty knowledgeable about his beers, of course. But yeah, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Arbor Ales before, and you will see more in the fairly near future. I've got no intention of leaving it 3 years before I review another beer from Arbor, definitely not. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to quite regularly at the moment, because I do have quite a few English beers here in the motherland of Scotland, and we're getting them quite regularly over in Sweden as well. So many English reviews to come, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Arbor Ales then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've mentioned to you already, Arbor Ales are based in Bristol in the southwest of England. Very nice city, and as I've said before, a very good beer city these days as well. But the company was founded by Jonathan Comer, who has a background in engineering, and he opened the company back in 2007. Over the following years, in 2008 and 2009, they expanded quite a bit, and basically John built up the reputation of Arbor Ales by rarely brewing the same beer twice and just experimenting with a lot of hops, you know, from very early on. And this was before a lot of breweries were doing that, actually. Most breweries at this time had a kind of core range of beer that they were releasing. But 2009 also saw these guys buy their first pub, which was the Old Stillage, and then in 2010 they bought their second, which is called the 3 Tons in Hotwells, apparently. So yeah, these guys do have 2 pubs, and I don't think they've added to that over the next little while, but do correct me on that if I'm wrong in the comment section below. But a little bit later on, having built up their reputation and got their beers distributed throughout the whole of England and up into Scotland and Wales and stuff like that, they moved to a new brewery in Easton in Bristol, and they've continued to expand this brewery's capacity over the last few years. They say that the main motivation behind this brewery is to basically brew beers that they would like to enjoy themselves, and they seem to mainly focus on session beers, as I said earlier. Quite a lot of their beers are fairly low alcohol. When I looked on the website just before filming this review, they had a couple of IPAs in there, but there was nothing like, you know, imperial stouts and stuff like this. Most of their beers were kind of you know, around the sort of 5% mark, if you like. There was a few New Englands in. There's two New England IPAs in there, one regular American IPA, and then the rest of them were all kind of different pale ales and stuff like this. So yeah, mainly a session ale brewery, these guys. But they sell the vast majority of their beers in 568ml cans, or 1 British imperial pint, I guess you could say, which makes this brewery a little bit unique. And as of January 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 80 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Arbor Ales for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's have a look at this beer itself then and see how we go. As you can see, the can is pretty damn tall. I'm not used to having pint cans. It's very rare that you see these. Actually, my uncle, I know, sells pint cans of Tennent's and things in his little convenience shop that he owns. But yeah, this one, 568ml, 1 British Imperial pint. So yeah, this one, as I said, a 5% ABV beer. This my little Sabrony, I think that is pretty nice. Arbor Ales, of course, do have the sort of maple leaf as their symbol, if you like. But you can see black top can there, best before the 1st of June 2021. So I'm guessing that I'm drinking this one fairly fresh. It's maybe been canned just at the start of December. I think this beer is a regular, actually, if I remember what Harry told me rightly. But yeah, this looks as if it's only about a month old or so at the time that I'm drinking it, which is a good time. It is a good time. But yeah, single hop American pale ale brewed with large quantities of Sabro hop. You know, Sabro, if I remember rightly, 13 to 14% alpha acid, big orangey notes, and also some nice kind of coconutty qualities, if I remember rightly, as well. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. But yeah, let's get in there. I guess the whole 568ml can thing is part of the whole mantra of these guys being, you know, a kind of session ale brewery. They kind of want to focus on the pub culture, I guess, a little bit like Kernel did, and now New Barns Brewery in Edinburgh. But yeah, this one should be really nice. That's about, I guess, just a little bit over half of the can that we've got in the glass there. But yeah, as you can see, this is poured very, very nicely. This looks like it's a New England pale ale, this one. You can see it's poured a lovely, if we shine the light through, that's a lovely bright hazy yellow colour. The level of haze on this actually is impressive when you consider that it's only 5% ABV. That is pretty damn impressive. But you can see this beer does have about a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. There's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones kind of going up towards the bottom of the head there. But as I say, the level of haze on this for a 5%er I think is pretty damn impressive, and the colour of this one I would compare to like a mango juice or something like that. It's got a lovely kind of richness to it, but in fairness, when you take it away from the light, it does lean a little bit more towards being like a kind of pineapple juice or something like that. So it's just got a nice bit of colour to it, I think. But yeah, in terms of a kind of New England type paleo, the appearance of this one isn't overly surprising, but as I say, look at the level of haze of that. Very impressive for a 5%er. Remember, the level of haze that you have in a New England IPA is dependent on the oats and the wheat content mainly, and of course you can filter these and make them clearer, of course, but yeah, you don't tend to do that with the New Englands. But as you go up the alcohol scale, more oats, more wheat, more haze, generally speaking. But yeah, not always the case, as we've found out on many reviews on the channel. But yeah, certainly looks the part as an American paleo, this one. Let's have a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this beer. Really curious about this one. Yeah, this smells very, very nice, I have to say. Yeah, this beer, the malt base, comes across really nicely as well. And does it have, is this one oats and wheat? Does it say? Veda. No, it's only wheat, it says, apparently. Malted barley and wheat. So yeah, no oats in this one. I wouldn't have guessed that from the aroma. So I guess that kind of smoothness I'm getting out of this one will be, it will be the Sabro, actually. Yeah, as I say, I've not had a single hop Sabro beer before, and that's one of the things that makes this beer really interesting to me. You really can smell the coconut in this one. It's got a really creamy, sort of milky, coconutty type thing to it, this. So yeah, this beer is one that I wanted to have just to familiarise myself with Sabro, because it's quite interesting when you go between different countries. Certain hops are popular. You know, Galaxy and Sabro seem to be used quite a lot in England in particular, but in Sweden not so many breweries using Galaxy or Sabro these days, actually. But yeah, this one, it's really strange that, I mean, it's got the coconut that comes out of it almost comes across as chemical in a sense when you go as far away from the beer. Actually, it's unusual. I wouldn't have expected that. But yeah, lots of big coconut to this one. You've got a lot of you have got a lot of kind of if I was smelling this beer without knowing whether there was oats or wheat or whatever, and I would guess that it was oats. I would guess that you were getting a lot of oats out of the aroma here, but that's the coconut. Coconut's very powerful actually in this beer. But yeah, so you can definitely smell a lovely kind of soft white bready base to the beer. The carbonation, I think, is going to be very smooth in this one. I think this is going to be a very light kind of creamy beer because you don't get such a kind of crispness out of this. It comes across as really smooth. But yeah, lovely kind of smooth white bready wheaty character to this one. It almost does have a wee bit of that oaty kind of smoothness, like I was saying. If you take the aroma in quite deeply, there's a nice little bit of a kind of white bready, you know, you get that white sort of soft fluffy white bread underneath, but then you get the wheaty bitiness kind of on top of that, and it does, as I say, smell as if there's a bit of oatiness in there. But yeah, maybe a teeny little bit of that kind of butter candy, Werther's Original type thing, but very, very minimal. Malt base, fluffy white bread, bit of wheaty bitiness to it. I think that's about it, to be honest with you. The malt base is really nicely done in this. But yeah, this beer is, of course, as most paleos are, all about the hops. And as I've said to you before, I don't know where the line between you know, a paleo and a session IPA is. The main difference between a paleo and an IPA normally is the malt to hop ratio, because these styles of course are related. So it's a session IPA basically where they've taken the malt content down to take the alcohol down and maintained the same ratio, and then a paleo is actually the one where both are lower, if you like. I'm not quite sure if, I think that probably would be the technical description, just, you know, being logical. But yeah, I've always wondered what if a lot of session IPAs are actually paleos, to be honest with you. Just, it's a marketing thing. I've always wondered that. But yeah, there probably is a technical difference if we're being pernickety about it. But yeah, this one, knowing Arbor Ales, this probably will be a paleo with the right malt to hop ratio, of course. But yeah, it smells very nice. So, the green side of the hops then. There is a little touch of earthiness to this one for me. It does have quite a deep floral aromaticity to it, which is quite interesting. So when you take it in, you do get quite a deep but quite bright floral aromaticity out of it. Lovely soft kind of grassy component in there. But the The fruity notes you get out of this are very, very interesting. As I say, there's a really creamy sort of coconutty thing to this one. You've got a juicy but quite bright tangerine-y orangey note to this one, and it almost smells a little bit soft and kind of like mango, papaya, apricot-y like as well. It's got these kind of soft tropical fruit notes to it as well, actually. So I'm wondering, it reminds me a little bit of a few of the Stigbergets and Apex brewing beers that I've had over the last little while. If it could have been Sabro and stuff, actually. Sabro, as I say, that's probably one of the reasons that my guess the hop ability has dropped over the last little while, because a lot of the breweries don't tell you what hops are in the beers, and Sabro is one that I've not been overly familiar with, so hopefully this is an education, this one. Yeah, this one, the aroma out of this is lovely. So yeah, juicy tangerine oranges, I think maybe a little bit of lime in there, but soft apricots and soft apricots and papayas and things like that. Then that coconutty note really dominates the kind of fruity and sweeter side of this this beer, if you like. But yeah, let's take a little bit. As I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of this beer before you get stuck into it. But now, let's have a taste of this one and see how we go on. So this one is the My Little Sabrony, dedicating this review in particular to my friends Peter the Clueless Drinker, Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews, and Thomas Hogendam over at Thomas Open in the Netherlands. The other three corners of my love square, apparently, headphone wearing, bike seat sniffing, and cucumber loving friends, if you like, beer tubing friends. There we go. But yeah, let's get stuck into this one. Nice to return to Arbor Ales after quite some time, and this is my January 2nd review. So yeah, this is a nice one to kick off 2020 with as well. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that is very, very nice and just very easy to drink. That's the first impression of this one. It's very, very kind of straightforward. I actually thought, to be honest, that I was going to get I had it in my head that this one was going to be, like more of a West Coaster. I thought it was going to be more like a West Coast Pale Ale, this one. But the New England thing actually works out very nicely, to be honest. But yeah, it's absolutely solid, this one. I can see why Harry rated this one highly. And I have to say, I have been enjoying quite a few lower alcohol IPAs recently. I think it's almost to a point where the malty level gets taken to saturation point, and it just, almost kind of takes the attention away from the hops a little bit. Actually, you can say that about some of the double and triple IPAs and things like that I've had recently. But this is a very, very nice beer. It was like the Nipple series. It reminds me of the Nipple series that I tried from Brewski in Helsingborg in Skåne over in Sweden. This one, the no nipple and single nipple, those were the best beers of that series for me. And this one really reminds me of somewhere between the no nipple and single nipple. It's absolutely solid, so I can see exactly what the English guys mean when it comes to this brewery. Their beers, straight shooting. If the other ones are like this, straight shooting and just well crafted. That's it. You can't, there's so many hazy IPAs and stuff out there these days. You can't ask for much more than a well crafted one these days. And Arbor have delivered. These guys have always been a solid brewery in my experience. I've had a few of their other beers on tap, actually. Because the thing I always used to look out for from these guys was the fact that they used the Aussie and Kiwi hops. So yeah, I think this could well be my first American hopped beer from these guys, come to think of it. But yeah, absolutely solid. Let's try and break down the flavour of this one then. Straight away with this beer, across the middle third of your palate and the back third of your palate, you've got a lovely soft but smooth white bready sort of thing in there. You can feel on the back third of your palate that there's a little bit of a more kind of bitey, wheaty sort of thing coming out of it, which is quite nice. And as you move further forward into that middle third of your palate, it goes back to the soft white bready thing. So you can feel there's a sort of pale malt base to this one, but then in the middle third of your palate, the sort of bready malts almost kind of just fluff up a little bit, and it feels nice and soft. There is almost a little touch of like an oaty-like smoothness in the kind of middle part of your palate there, but there's not really a kind of you might get the impression of a little bit of a Werther's Original type sweetness the further that you go into the aftertaste with this beer, which is quite interesting. But yeah, it's a lovely, lovely brew, this one. As I say, I can see why Harry likes this right away. The malt base is really nicely done. As I say, back third of your palate, you get a wee bit more wheaty bitiness out of this. That's at the very back of the tongue, and it's just a little bit smoother as you, you know, as you move further forward on it. So, yeah, it goes together really, really quite nicely. Actually, I like how this beer goes together. So, yeah, it's a very, very solid beer from that perspective, from the malty side of things. Hoppy side of things, which is where, when it's a single hop beer, that's where the focus really should be, in my opinion. But yeah, back third of your palate, then you get a little touch of earthiness there, but as you move further forward, it really very quickly becomes floral and aromatic. It does have a nice big floral aromaticity to it. But yeah, there is a nice, the floral aromaticity in this one, that really stands out for me about this Sabro hop as well. It's very, very bright and very kind of, it almost just resonates there. But this beer is quite fresh. It's only been canned about a month ago by the looks of it. I would guess that they would put a 6-month sort of time on these cans actually, and it says the 1st of June 2021, so I guess it's probably got a 6-month sort of time on it, so about a month in the can I would think so far, so that's probably why it kind of resonates there so much, if you like. But a lovely, it's not spicy, it just really, just sort of, it's not, and it's not piney resinous either, it's just quite bright and almost smooth at the same time. So yeah, I really like how that goes together in this sense. But yeah, round the front curve of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of a lighter, you do have a nice little bit of a lighter sort of, how would we say, you've just got a nice little bit of lighter grassiness coming out of this beer, which I think is very, very nice. And then on that front third of your palate, that's where you get that nice juicy bubble where those oily, those kind of oily, juicy, fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. But yeah, around the front curve of the palate, I think as you go further into the aftertaste, it just builds a little bit of kind of grassiness and things. So yeah, see, I think, will we get the rest of this in? Yeah, we will. There we go. Yeah, this is a very nice beer. As I say, I can see why Harry really, really enjoyed this one. But yeah, let's focus on those kind of fruity notes there. But yeah, Sabro, it has, you can feel underneath that sort of fruity front third of your palate, you can feel the coconut just sort of lingering there, which is quite interesting. Yeah, you can really feel that nice kind of smooth coconutty quality lingering in this one, which is quite nice actually. I think that it does take a wee bit of getting used to, and it was strange because it almost smelled artificial and a little bit almost chemical when I was further away from it, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, that coconutty side of the Sabro is very quirky for sure. I don't think you're going to find any other hop that's like this. There's Talus out there these days, so it'd be quite cool to see Arbor do a beer like this one with Talus. I would definitely get a hold of that for sure. But yeah, that would be interesting. But the how would you say, the fruity, the kind of fruity, juicy side of this beer is very, very nice as well. It is like a soft, you do get a wee touch of like an apricot-y flavour on the back half of that front third of your tongue. There's a sort of soft apricot-y, papaya type thing going on there. But as you move towards the front half of the front third of your tongue, it's definitely more kind of orangey and tangerine. It's like an oily tangerine, to be honest with you, but at the same time it does have a wee bit of zestiness to it. But around the front curve of the palate, there is just, you can really feel the sort of zesty side of that orange coming out there. I was picking up a wee bit of lime in the aroma of this beer, but I don't really get that in the actual flavour of this one. It's definitely tangerine oranges that are kind of sitting in there actually, so that's an interesting point to make about this beer for sure. But yeah, this is a really, really interesting one. I think the best part of this beer for me where the flavour is at its peak is the aftertaste. It's a very nice beer otherwise, don't get me wrong on that, but it's got a really lovely aftertaste to it, this one, because you get the sweetness of the oranges. But you guys know, if you've watched the channel for any length of time, I'm a sucker for orangey leaning IPAs and stuff like that. So that's why this beer really hits me in that sense. I think it's very, very solid from that perspective too. But yeah, this is a lovely, it's a very well executed pale ale, this one, so I can see exactly why Harry enjoyed this one so much. The kind of coconutty smooth, the coconut always gives you the impression that there's oats in the malt base here, and it really smoothens the beer out. It's really interesting to have a bridge like that between the hoppy and the malty side of the beer, because that's very unusual. But yeah, it is really, really very nice, to be honest with you, in that sense. So yeah, awesome stuff from Arbor Ales. I can see why the guys tell me this is a very, very solid brewery. As I say, it's a very straight shooting beer. You will find others that are more complex than this, but it's really nicely executed, and if they're focusing on session ales, that's exactly what they're aiming for. So yeah, lovely stuff. So thumbs up to Arbor Ales for this. I certainly like it. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, let's focus on that to kind of round off the review. Yeah, this one is, I would say it's kind of mid-bodied. It's right in the middle of the spectrum. The carbonation is very, very smooth. The mouthfeel overall, I would say, yeah, right in the middle of the spectrum, mid-bodied, smooth carbonation. I'd say it's almost got quite a creamy mouthfeel to it, and it's just interesting, as I say, the way that the hop, the Sabrony hop, contributes to that. It's really unusual in that sense. The coconut just really, really lingers there. But yeah, in terms of hoppy bitterness, there's not a lot of that in this beer. 20, 25 IBUs, something like that. Yeah, 20 IBUs. I think that's probably fair. The malt base, like I say, is very smooth. It's got a bit of wheaty bitiness to it at the very back of the palate. Then you've got a lovely, juicy, fruity kind of character coming out of it as well. But yeah, I think this one goes together really, really nicely. So it gets a big thumbs up from me, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. I would love to see these guys do a beer like this with Enigma. Hallertau Blanc would be another interesting one. A few of the different New Zealand hops, if they could do, these guys were always good with the Aussie and the New Zealand hops. If they could do, you know, like Riwaka and Rakau and things like that, if they could do one of these beers like that, I would certainly love to try that. And Talus as well would be the other one that's you know, coming out quite nicely. I forget what number that was before they named it, but yeah, that's a derivative of Sabro. But yeah, this is a very, very nice one, and it gets a big thumbs up from me, so let's leave it at that. This one was the My Little Sabrony, a 5% hazy, obviously, pale ale, American pale ale, from Arbor Ales in Bristol down in England. As I say, this review was dedicated to my my beer tubing friends, Harry Meadows at Blue Nose Beer Reviews, Peter Davies at the Clueless Drinker, and then Thomas Hoendam at Thomas Open in the Netherlands, the part of the love square that's going on within the beer tubing scene. But yeah, awesome to return to Arbor after such a long time, and you will see more reviews from these guys at some point fairly soon. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys later. So let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Arbor Ales. As I said, we will return to these guys soon, but this was a lovely beer. The My Little Sabrony Hazy Pale Ale, coming in at 5% ABV. Catch you guys very soon. Slange, skull, cheers, and make sure you check out Arbor Ales from Bristol if you haven't already, and I do hope you enjoy the rest of the beers in this English mini-series. Cheers.